Welcome to Reimagining Chapel. My name is Amanda Esco, and I am the director of the Religious Education Program here at the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. Thank you for joining us today for our Reimagining Chapel. What's on my brain this week? Communities, and how we imagine our communities together and how we're connected to each other. That's why I wore my UU Anywhere shirt, because we're Unitarian Universalists everywhere we go. And now that we're virtual, we get to meet UUs all over the world. I think that's pretty special. Let's start by doing a ritual that UUs across our globe do, and that's light our chalice. Symbol of light, symbol of knowledge, symbol of warmth, symbol of freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope, wherever we are, and the infinite possibilities of love. As I set our chalice down, communities have been on my mind. A lot of us have been participating in communities differently this year and have been thinking about our communities in different ways. How has that worked for you this year? What communities are you still part of? As we go into February, communities is what we're talking about in RE this month. So, get those community hats on as we start talking about that. First though, let's take a big breath together. We're gonna breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. Are you ready? I am. Okay, we're gonna stand up if you can. If you're willing and able, we're gonna ground our tootsies into the ground. We're gonna take a deep breath in through our nose, out through our mouth. Let's do that one more time as we center ourselves in this space together. We're going to breathe in through our nose, out through our mouth. Sometimes when I do that, I like to close my eyes. Closing my eyes, breathing, feeling the ground with my feet, all help center me to where I am in that moment and help me feel present and calm. What helps you feel present and calm these days? What kind of spiritual practices have you been working on to help you feel that centering? This Sunday, on January 31st, we're lucky enough to have Matt Meyer from Sanctuaries Boston come and do a live Zoom worship service for us all. And the theme is spiritual practice, with the idea that it takes practice. We've been talking about that a lot, but it'll be interesting to hear Matt's perspective too. I can't wait to see you on Sunday for that. Well, let's do another ritual that we love in RE. Let's share our joys and concerns. I want you to go find someone in your home, in your community, even give them a call. You can pause me and let them know what's in your hearts, what's in your minds. I'll be right here waiting for you. Thank you for sharing your joys and concerns with those people and animals and friends that love you. It's important. Now, I get to share this week's UU of the week, and this Unitarian Universalist is actually not from our country. We're thinking globally, friends. Maybe not that far, but globally. And they were very focused on community and the power of community action. I can't wait for you to learn about them. This week's UU of the week, as promised, is global. They were Canadian. Eliza Reid was born on October 30th, 1841. She was an activist and a leader in the movement to expand women's access to higher education. Eliza was a lifelong Unitarian, one of 9 children born to Margaret and Nicholas McIntosh. Her father made cabinetry in Montreal. Eliza and her sisters studied with private tutors, while her brothers were all allowed to go to school as children. She loved music and sang in her church choir, and eventually began to play the organ for her congregation. Her family, along with other members of the Montreal Unitarian Society, established the first Unitarian Society in all of Canada. Eliza married Robert Reid in the church of her youth by her minister, John Cordner. Her husband was from Scotland and owned a sculpture and marble and granite work company. His business flourished in the growing metropolis of Montreal, and Eliza and Robert were very fashionable. Eliza and Robert had 4 children of their own. It was then that education for women came to the forefront for Eliza. In 1884, a group of recent graduates of the school met at Eliza's house to discuss how to apply to McGill University. At the time, McGill University was a male-only institution, and women were not allowed to attend. McGill University was not excited to have the women apply, but begrudgingly allowed them to enroll. However, they didn't actually let the women attend until $50,000 was donated to create separate facilities and classes for the women. Eliza convinced Donald Alexander Smith, a businessman, to donate the funds in order for the girls to attend the university. One of Eliza's daughters, Helen, said so much of Eliza's life was lived for the church, and so much of the inspiration of her many outside good works had its source in the church and in the life of the free spirit for which it stands. Eliza created several committees and groups in her church. She believed that by creating opportunities for community, good works could happen in the world. She led the Montreal Unitarian Church's Unity Club, the Young People's Alliance, and the Montreal Women's Club. Part of the work of these groups, especially the Women's Club, was to organize women and encourage them to apply for different school and hospital boards and university faculties. They organized lectures on education, law, women's legal status. Remember, at this time, even in Canada, women were barely considered more than their husband or their father's property. Very rarely did women own land or businesses or be allowed to have their own bank accounts. In 1912, Eliza was featured in the publication Canadian Men and Women of the Time. In the publication, she is called a founder and organizer of women's work. It goes on to quote her as saying she believes in free trade, liberal government, public schools that people should be involved in, and that they could be part of their government processes and public utilities, and that women needed to exercise a privilege and vote where they were able to, and that they were more than capable of being good citizens. Eliza's commitment to community encouraged her to establish parks, working for the protection of immigrant women, and continuing the fight for equity with women in higher education. Eliza McIntosh Reid died in 1926. Her family and community honored her memory by creating the Reid Room in the church that she had devoted so much of her life to. What a fitting tribute for a woman who dedicated her life to creating community through her church group. Let's see what's in our Wonder Box today. Oh, it's some string art. Have you ever made string art before? It's fun and it's pretty easy to make, and you can make these beautiful creations. You start with string around one edge, and then you wrap it around and take the string to the other side, and then wrap it around another point, go to the other side and wrap it around. The trick is making sure the string never pops off of the edges. If it does, it all goes kaplooey. Miss Lissa made our 7th principle canvas just this way. Let's go look at it. All right, friends, do you see on the canvas how she wrapped the string and then went to the other side and wrapped the string and went to the other side? It's beautiful. And this canvas is our 7th principle. It says, the web of life's the way. I love how she wrapped that colored yarn that we used here in Little Chapel too as an experiment to create this beautiful web. Our relationships with other people are like this canvas. Today, I want us to imagine all of the connections to other people we have like a web of string art. Each of us is connected to people we know and people we don't. Our connections to others creates community, helps us develop empathy or relating to others' experiences, and helps us feel our whole selves. I have a book to share with you today just about this. It's Because by one of my very favorite authors, Mo Willems. As I'm reading, I want you to think about all of the connections to people you have in your own life.
Because by Mo Willems, illustrated by Amber Wren. This is how it happened. Because a man named Ludwig wrote beautiful music, a man named Franz was inspired to create his own. Because many years later, people wanted to hear Franz's beautiful music. They formed an orchestra. Because a man had practiced since he was a kid, he was asked to join. Because a woman studied night and day, she too was asked to play. Because many others loved and practiced their instruments, there were enough musicians. Because someone created a poster about Franz's music, tickets were sold. Because the train conductor stopped the train at the Grand Concert Hall, the orchestra conductor arrived. Because the orchestra librarian had copies of the score, the orchestra rehearsed. Because workers checked the lights and the seats and swept the floors, the grand hall was ready. Because the time had come, the ushers opened the doors. Because someone's uncle caught a cold. Someone's aunt had an extra ticket for someone special. Because the usher helped the aunt and her special guest, they found their seats. Because everyone was there to hear the beautiful music, it was quiet. In row C, seat 14, sat the girl with the uncle's ticket. She heard the beautiful music written by the man named Franz, and it changed her. The girl was changed. From that moment on, the girl learned everything she could about music because it fed her. Soon, she started to write music too, because like Franz, the young woman had something to share. Over time, the woman became very good because she worked very hard. One night, her music was discovered because she was also very lucky. Then she was invited to perform her music at the Grand Concert Hall because so many people wanted to hear it. Her composition was dedicated to the uncle in row C, seat 14, because it was his ticket that brought her here. And that night, someone else was changed. That is how it happens.
I think this is the first time I've been able to read this book without crying. It's beautiful. I love how it illustrates all of these strings represented by the notes of music that connects this person to her past and her future. This week, imagine all of the connections that you have in your own life, like a string of web. Now, what colors would you use? How many points will it have? Tell it to me the next time you see me. Thank you for joining us today for Reimagining Chapel. To find out more information about the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City, please visit us at slcuu.org. Until next time, though, let's heart out.
One, each person is important.